点亮名为未来的奇迹。
Hey everyone, it's Kay. Welcome to my complete and updated guide for Herrscher of Human Eagle, Elysia's second battlesuit. Elysia is an Ice Psi type S-Reg who has regained relevance with a new stellar key releasing in version 8.1. She's under the Astro Ring specialization Wheel of Destiny and uses the bow. In this video, I will be going through her kit, suitable team compositions, rotations, equipment, and more. Starting off, let's take a look at her mechanics. Elysia has two forms she can be in, Herrscher of Human form and Herrscher of Origin form. As one of the last Herrscher battlesuits, Elysia is permanently in a state known as Herrscher form. This allows her to trigger certain stigmata effects, which require the host to be in this state. Elysia is in Herrscher of Human form by default, and can switch to Herrscher of Origin form through her ult or by entering Stellar Outburst. Before I introduce her Astro Ring mechanics, I'll first be going into the different forms. In Herrscher of Human form, Elysia can continuously fire charged attacks by holding down the attack button, and can move while doing so. Elysia can use these charged attacks to inflict up to 3 pristine speed stacks on enemies. At 3 stacks, enemies enter the pristine bloomage state temporarily, in which they cannot move. She can also apply this state to enemies via her QTE. Hitting enemies under the state with her weapon skill triggers Eagle Blossom, dealing ice damage, removing pristine bloomage, and setting pristine speed stacks to 1. In Herrscher of Origin form, Elysia turns the battlefield into Stars of the Past and changes the playstyle. Her weapon skill is converted to an enhanced attack called Water of the Stars, which is initially weaker but gains a stronger multiplier from the second cast onwards. This enhanced weapon skill's cooldown can only be reset by performing her charge attack, which can be used once her Herrscher charge smacks. Elysia gains Herrscher charge passively over time. Once enough time has passed, she casts her finisher, dealing ice damage and returning to Herrscher of Human form. This can also be triggered prematurely by pressing the alt button. With all that out of the way, let's talk about her Astro Ring. Elysia is protected by the Astro Ring specialization Wheel of Destiny. When activating Stellar Outburst, she enters Herrscher of Origin form and cannot be switched out. Instead, her teammate slots are replaced by Phantoms, which, when triggered, allows her to perform a Shadow Star attack and gain the Rondo in the Shadow state. In this state, she gains Herrscher charge faster, and can trigger Phantoms to do damage when she uses her basic attack. Once Stellar Outburst ends, Elysia will cast a special finisher that consumes all of her SP, dealing additional damage the more SP is consumed. This can be triggered earlier by tapping the alt button, which ends Stellar Outburst early and refunds a portion of Astro Ring intensity, similar to Jovial Deception Shadow Dimmer. As for support mechanics, Elysia has 3 Astro Ring related attacks. The first is Harmonize Shadow Star, allowing Wheel of Destiny units to trigger her Shadow Star attack and enjoy an extended duration of Rondo in the shadows. The second is Heavenly Shift, allowing her to support Law of Ascension Valkyries by performing Stellar Shift and contributing to team-wide damage. The last tag is currently unknown, and is connected to a locked skill related to an Astro Ring specialization set to be released in the future. Moving on to Elysia's gear, let's first take a look at her new stellar key, Flawless Benediction Legacy. It changes Elysia's playstyle significantly by giving her the Astro Ring mechanics we covered just now. It also has a handful of small team-wide buffs and an effect to boost Elysia's SP gain. Since Elysia's Astro Ring is tied to this weapon, she quite literally has no other alternatives. No other option will be able to change her kit. The lack of weapon options means I'll only be covering the damage comparison between Flawless Benediction's synergy ranks. First, let's take a look at the synergy skill itself. It has 2 independent buffs that both affect the character on the field, meaning that they can both be used with the Elysia as the DPS or a supporting teammate. It also has an effect giving her additional SP, which helps fund the SP cost of her finisher. The difference in damage between each synergy level is bigger than a conventional Part 2 weapons. This can be partially attributed to the strength of the synergy skill itself, but the real reason is the side effect of ranking up the weapon's synergy level. As a stellar key, Elysia's new weapon gives a global buff of 10 attack that applies to all Valkyries including herself. However, each additional level to her synergy skill provides an extra 5 attack for a total of 20 attack. The increase in attack means that Elysia will have a much more noticeable increase in damage for every additional synergy rank she gets. Stigmata-wise, there aren't really many options to consider other than her signature set. She's very reliant on the entire set since a lot of its buffs are locked behind the 3-piece bonus. Fortunately, it won't be difficult to complete due to the entire set being craftable, and it will be more than likely that players will have pulled at least 1 or 2 pieces while going for a weapon. For Elysia's teammates, it's generally recommended to run Mad Pleasure Shadowbringer along with her. This isn't only because of her strength as a support, but also because of her ability to apply Rhyme Trauma, as well as her shield break capabilities. As a Part 2 Valkyrie, Elysia can no longer rely on Valkyries like Reverse Calico or Sugary Starburst to apply Rhyme Trauma. The only Part 2 support that can do so is Mad Pleasure Shadowbringer. While Elysia can inflict Rhyme Trauma on her own, it takes most of her attacks, making her miss out on a lot of damage she could otherwise be dealing. This means that on bosses like Hephaestus, not having Delima will result in a big loss of damage. As for her second support, an Elemental Breach Applier like Deep Space Anchor or Lone Planetfarer will be able to provide her with the most optimal boss for most scenarios. Like I mentioned before, Elysia can also support Law of Ascension Valkyries, so she can be considered as an option when building a team around them. With all that out of the way, let's talk about how to play Elysia. I'll be going through possible rotations with the teams I showed earlier, explaining how it works before following up with a video example. As a Wheel of Destiny DPS, Elysia mostly uses her support solely for buffs and the Stellar Drain. In fact, Sonatita doesn't even come onto the field in this team, since all her buffs can be triggered off the field. Her rotation in Stellar Outburst is rather straightforward. You're pretty much doing the same thing twice before using her finisher. Keep in mind that if you have enough damage for whatever reason, it's recommended to use her finisher earlier instead of carrying out the entire Stellar Outburst sequence to save time.
该出手了！负我狂焰，与我同欢。给我退了！送你一点惊喜，别心急嘛。抓住爱，要一起看星星吗？我会保护大家。好看吗？哇，好高好高！小心脚下。别逃开呀！飞向远天吧，要踩好节奏啊！愿星空永远如此璀璨。
This rotation is similar to the one shown before. It's generally slower due to Vita's long combo attack being required for her to trigger Stellar Drain, but it's still usable. If you happen to have SS Vita, you can Stellar Outburst immediately after using her combo attack to trigger Stellar Drain for the first time.
海守行者，与我同行，
限制解除，
障碍消除，心追于此，愿你安宁。一切尽在掌中，和星星一同，没入被遗忘的世界吧。该出手了！负我狂焰，与我同欢。断了，给我退了！愉快，愉快，要一起看星星吗？我会保护大家。好看吗？梦幻的共演啊！小心脚下，很漂亮吧？飞向远天吧，要踩好节奏啊！愿星空永远如此璀璨。
With that out of the way, let's look at Law of Ascension. Elysia's role in Law of Ascension teams is very simple. Since all her buffs, including her Stellar Drain, are tied to her weapon active, that's all she needs to do outside of Stellar Outburst. Her Stellar Shift mostly involves using her special weapon skill, then casting her finisher and leaving.
认真听，愉快，别心急嘛。这便是独行心间之人。障碍消除，心追于此，愿你安宁。和星星一同，没入被遗忘的世界吧。别想逃，以此烈火，送旧迎新。竖起耳朵，想看舞蛇吗？年招是大姨妈干劲十足啊！回头这里是我们的主场。拜年时间到，贺岁飞扑！小心脚下，准备好过武艺去了吗？由此点亮名为未来的奇迹。这里是我们的主场。该加点年味儿。以此烈火，送 望鞘银心。想看武蛇吗？年糕旋风，一切尽在掌中。全知的羽翼将撕裂天阙。
Regarding her competitive performance, Elysia isn't exactly game-breaking, even with the huge rework she's received. She just isn't very strong outside of her own bosses, and her performance as a support is underwhelming too. Even though she's able to trigger Stellar Drain incredibly quickly, her lackluster buffs aren't enough to justify using her over other Valkyries. She may have potential as an excellent support for the locked Astral specialization she will be able to support, but banking on that is extremely risky and not a great reason to pull. She's also reliant on ranks to do well competitively, meaning new players trying to use Elysia, especially in higher Abyss tiers, will likely struggle to compete even during cycles she excels in due to the number of older players with high ranks. However, there are some buffs to pulling her Stellar Key. Both Divine and Stellar Keys are valued for their small but extremely long-term boost to an account due to the global attack buff that applies to all Valkyries. It might not seem like it matters much, but the buff collectively adds up with that of other Divine Keys. This is important especially for competitive players, who will likely go for Elysia's Stellar Key unless they don't have the crystals to afford it. In the end, the 60 pull cost isn't that big of a deal, and with the Chinese New Year event rewards, it will be pretty easy to afford unless you haven't saved at all. If you end up going for it, that's completely fine. Just be aware that her overall performance in battle comes with caveats, and the returns will not necessarily be big. That's it for my Elysia guide. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in comments and I'll try my best to answer them. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.